Joining us tonight on the phone is attorney Jim Jeffries from the Jeffries family law firm. He's going to be taking some questions from us tonight about how this pandemic is impacting custody agreements right now. Jim, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Bill. Hey, Andrew.
Hey there.
I'm great.
Are you getting lots of questions? Because, I mean, people already have, orders in their divorce settlements of how custody is supposed to play out. How does this pandemic and the governor's stay-at-home order, does it impact that in any way?
Andrea, I have been getting a lot of questions about that. Really, court orders, complying with court orders are an exception to staying at home and not working and that sort of thing. So from that standpoint, that's really no excuse to not allow children to be exchanged between parents for custody situations right now. I have not had any particular situations come up where a parent has been exposed to the coronavirus or a child or something like that, but I'm sure that sort of situation is coming.
Right, and I believe even the judges here, are they encouraging parents, as we're in this kind of odd time where some people are having to work from home, and are they encouraging people just to try to maybe work it out amongst themselves for child care, and that is not necessarily binding to future arrangements, just if in the interim you need to make some exceptions with child care?
Yes, the judges our judges in Mobile have been very proactive about putting out instructions for parents to deal with these sort of issues. When you've got kids at home that can't go to school and parents working, there definitely has got to be some give and take, and you just got to use common sense. And parents have got to work together to deal with these kind of things, just like others that are dealing with this other people that are dealing with this during the day.
Right, and I think they emphasize too that it's not binding. I mean, just because maybe one parent who doesn't normally have as much custody of the kids, they're helping out because the kids aren't in school, doesn't necessarily mean that in the future they're going to have that much leeway, right?
That's exactly right. You just got to take it on a day-to-day basis. Just because you let a child stay with the other parent for some period of time, that doesn't impact any sort of custody rights or what the order says in your divorce decree at all.
Okay. Now, we're dealing with massive unemployment, unfortunately. What if you're in the situation where you've lost your job, you can't afford those child support payments right now, and we know the courthouse basically shut down? Is there any relief there, or what do you tell folks?
Well, you're obligated to pay your child support as ordered every month until the order changes, and that doesn't, whether you lose your job or there's a change in circumstances, you're obligated to pay the child support until the judge says there's a different amount that you're supposed to pay. However, courts certainly understand circumstances changing, and if you don't have a job, obviously you can't pay your child support like you have been. You just need to make sure you're out there looking for a job. I also would suggest that in certain situations, in severe situations, that you file a motion. A court can go back and amend your child support order back to the time that you file the motion to modify if a situation comes up that you think is not going to be temporary. Obviously, if you've just been furloughed and you're not going to have your job for a few weeks or a few months, that may not justify the filing of a motion, and you just need to make sure you communicate with the other parent, and maybe things can be worked out and sorted out after everything gets back to normal.
Jim, what's the ramification of, the courthouse basically closed, the backlog that this is going to create in all of these cases that you handle?
Yeah, continuances of cases, trials that are scheduled, that's a fairly common thing. Of course, when the courthouse is shut down for 6 weeks like it has been, or 4 weeks actually, that's going to cause a backlog in the future. There's just no way for that not to happen, and lawyers and judges and parties are just going to have to work a little harder to make sure that cases get settled, that can be settled, and that cases that really do need to be tried have particular time to get to court to be tried. The judges are making accommodations for emergency orders, but as you can imagine, the definition of what's an emergency these days has really been tightened up a little bit. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, and Bill, is that what you're seeing with personal injury cases, just the ramifications of the courthouse being shut down, just in the future, cases that need to settle are going to settle pretty quickly? What are you seeing on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of our cases just completely come to a dead stop. There's some law firms, defense firms that we're dealing with that have a very strict, almost a kind of a no work situation outside the office. So no depositions, no mediations, things of that nature. Interestingly enough, I actually have a mediation via video teleconference on Friday in a personal injury case where I'll be here. The mediator will be in his office, and the other side, the defense lawyer, will be in his office across the bay. And so things are still going. And surprisingly enough, we actually have had good movement on non-litigated, which means the lawsuit hasn't been filed yet. We've had a pretty good success over the last 2 weeks in settling and resolving non-litigated cases. Even though the insurance adjusters across the board, across the United States, they're all working remotely from home. So surprisingly, it has not slowed things down that way as much as we thought it would. But again, the litigated files, ones that have motions and things of that nature, those have slowed down, but they're still, they're still moving. And the judges have been great here in Mobile. They're actually having hearings via video conference. You can't go in the courthouse, but you can still have, you can still get things done. So it's actually worked out a lot better than what we thought originally.
All right. Well, we want to thank Attorney Jim Jeffries for taking a little bit of his time to answer some questions about how this pandemic is impacting family law issues. If you have any additional questions for him, again, that's Attorney Jim Jeffries. You can reach him at 251-694-6000, or you can go online to jeffriesfamilylaw.com. Again, Jim, thank you so much for your time.